Hi, boys and girls. I just got done reading Little House on the Prairie to you. And remember, in Little House on the Prairie, the Ingalls family left Kansas because the soldiers were going to come out and make them leave because they were actually not in Kansas, they were in Indian territory. And when we left off, Laura was falling asleep and they were living just like they did at the beginning of the book in their wagon. Uh, we don't know where they were going yet. So I'm going to reveal that to you right now where they're going. And this is a really good book. It's called Pioneer Girl, the story of Laura Ingalls Wilder. I'm not going to read you the whole book, but I'm just going to read you a section of it, and that'll let you know where they're going. And then maybe someday you could find a copy of this book. I bet the public library might have it, and I'll let you read the rest of it. Okay, so we're going to start right here. First of all, let's show you the picture. Here's a picture of Laura and Jack, and there's their little house on the prairie in Indian territory. And here's where we're going to start, right on the second page. Okay. An Indian trail curved right through the Ingalls' new farm, and Laura often saw Indians. Although the Indians did not know it, they had settled on land that belonged to the Osage Indians. Before they had been in the new house on the prairie for a year, Pa said they would have to leave. So once more, Laura rode in the covered wagon with Pa and Ma, Mary, and a new baby sister, Carrie. They returned to where they had started, the little house in the big woods of Wisconsin. I'm going to go over this side now. So the Ingalls family was going back to Wisconsin. So right here, there's a little map I'm going to show you. So what? It's upside down. Sorry. So what happened was the Ingalls family left Kansas. They went from Wisconsin down into Indian territory. Then they left after less than a year and went back to their little house in Wisconsin. The days were full of work. Pa went far into the woods to hunt for meat and trap for furs. Ma was always busy, and Mary and Laura helped to churn butter, sew quilts, wash dishes, and sweep the log floor. Laura's special job was to bring in chips from the woodpile. She filled her apron full, for the fire on the hearth must never burn out. At night, Pa played his fiddle, and music filled the little house from the pantry to the attic. Sometimes wolves howled outside, but Laura knew that Pa and Jack would keep them all safe. So here's a picture of the Ingalls leaving Kansas and going back to Wisconsin. As Laura grew older and more settlers came into the big woods, Pa wanted to be where neighbors were not so close and wild animals roamed free. So on Laura's 7th birthday, Mary, Laura, and Carrie were once again bundled inside the covered wagon as they drove away. They saw their little log house for the last time. They headed west to the wide open prairies of Minnesota. So Laura was born in Wisconsin, moved to Kansas, moved back to Wisconsin, and now they're heading west towards Minnesota. So they're going to cross Lake Pepin again. So here we are now, boys and girls. We're back in the big woods, and now they're heading west into Minnesota. Pa found a new farm along Plum Creek near the little town of Walnut Grove. Now, Walnut Grove is a little town west of Mankato. At first, they lived in a tiny one-room house that was hollowed into the bank of the creek. Its roof was made of sod or grass, the same thick, tangled grass that grew on the prairie. The dugout was cool in the summer and snug in the winter. And the Ingalls lived in it until Pa built a wonderful new house made of sawn lumber. Nearby, he grew a field of golden wheat. So the next book after Farmer Boy, remember I talked about Farmer Boy, which is about Laura's husband, Almanzo, growing up in New York, is called On the Banks of Plum Creek. And it takes place in this little house here called the Dugout. And basically, it's a house that was dug into the side of the earth. So that's the next book. And again, it's called On the Banks of Plum Creek. And it's a great book. And like I said, maybe you could find it at the public library and read it yourself, or maybe have mom and dad read it to you, or follow along on YouTube. I'm sure there's a few versions of it on YouTube. So, boys and girls, what happened was, it doesn't really talk about this. Laura doesn't talk about this in any of her books, but when Laura was moving west to Minnesota, they stopped right near Plainview in a place near Zumbro Falls. Probably some of you have heard of that before. And while they were there, Ma had a baby boy that passed away when it was very young. It was under 6 months old. And if you go to the South Troy Cemetery, which is not too far from Plainview, right along Highway 63 between Rochester and Zumbro Falls, there is a little monument to Laura's little baby brother that passed away when he was very young, when they were staying at Laura's aunt and uncle's house near the Zumbro River. Okay, boys and girls, have a good day. Bye.